Hi there. Welcome to Cine Culture with TJ Seaman, where everything we do is for the culture of filmmaking and cinematography. I got a question from an Angolan filmmaker who asks about camera movement in film. He says he thinks camera movement for African cinema is totally different from American or Asian cinema. Let's help him and others understand why the camera moves in film. So, with that out of the way, let's do this. A filmmaker who understands the language of camera movement can create dynamic and compelling work. There are countless variations of camera movement, each with its own purpose and language. Let's begin with a static shot. A static shot is a shot that does not move at all. A static shot results from locking the camera to a tripod and capturing it in a fixed position. The result is a shot that has no movement. It's not uncommon for filmmakers to use static shots to trap characters and suggest their helplessness. There are times the cruelty of a scene is intensified by stillness. And so, without distractions of camera movement, you are forced not to look away, which is much more disturbing. Let's take a look at another camera movement. The pan. Pans rotate the camera horizontally, left or right, from its fixed location. Directors like Wes Anderson and Damien Chazelle have deployed this technique in their films to follow characters, reveal information, guide viewers' eyes, build anticipation, and amp up the energy. Anderson typically uses pans to enhance story development, while Chazelle uses it to draw connections between his protagonists, exemplified in La La Land, where the whip pans emphasize Sebastian and Maya's burgeoning relationship. The same technique is harnessed for a different effect in Whiplash. Whip pans are employed to build energy and transition through various spaces over time. Horizontal panning is an option, but what about vertically? Vertically, that is known as a tilt. Tilting the camera up or down can be used to show verticality as well as give characters dominance or vulnerability within the scene. Information that was previously hidden can be revealed using the same movement. Is there someone there? How big is the character? What are they looking at? Our next camera movement is the push-in. As we move inward, the camera pushes towards the subject. A push-in elevates the tension and communicates internal conflict. As in the iconic restaurant scene in The Godfather, a push-in is a powerful way to communicate internal conflict. Here, Michael Corleone is about to kill a man who tried to kill his father. It's a life-changing decision, a point of no return as he enters the underworld for the first time and the geometry of that position for the rest of his life. The tension is elevated as we watch Michael struggle with the consequence and gather the courage to act. Take a look at this scene. This scene from some of my students also intensifies the internal conflict of her not knowing who she is. The next camera move we will talk about is the pull-out, the opposite of the push-in. Pulling the camera out de-emphasizes the subject. It is a signal to disconnect from the character's world. It is used to expose the setting or character context of a scene. The same movement can also emphasize negative emotions such as isolation or abandonment, helplessness. Let's talk about the zoom. It isn't a camera movement per se, but it is a movement within the camera. Zoom shots change the focal length of a camera's lens to zoom in or out. Zooming out is similar to pulling back a camera, and it also reveals the context around the subject. Zooms are unique because the human eyes can't zoom, and so it feels like a mechanical experience. We can physically move closer to a subject, but our eyes cannot zoom, making this type of camera movement unnatural. It has the potential to draw our attention towards a certain detail or add to the emotion of a scene. A slow zoom is commonly used in horror or thriller films, with Stanley Kubrick being an acclaimed master of this technique. A fast zoom is known as a crash zoom and can be used for various purposes, adding drama and even fun. Next is the dolly zoom. Some call it the zolly. When you combine in-camera zoom movements with physical camera movements, it's called a dolly zoom. Dolly zooms are used to create something called the vertigo effect. By combining a dolly movement with a lens zoom, it's named after Hitchcock's film Vertigo. The film's dramatic use inspired its name, actually. A dolly zoom can be achieved in two distinct ways. One is to have the camera move in while simultaneously zooming out, creating a tension and a sense of either an internal or external struggle. The other approach is to have the foreground subject become more prominent against its background by dollying out with a simultaneous zoom in. This effect can bring out developing relationships or just serves one's creativity, as I did with this drone shot. Let's move on to our next camera movement, the tracking shot. Tracking shot physically moves the camera through a zine, typically following its subject. In contrast to push-in or pull-out shots, tracking shots do not simply move towards or away from the subject, they move with it. Once the subjects are on the move, the camera tracks them wherever they go. When done purposefully, they generate two questions. Where is the character going? What happens when they get there? This is ideal for long takes that aim to immerse the audience directly into the scene. The tracking shot is either following or leading the subject. Tracking shots can create an engaging viewing experience by following a character around. But how do you create energy in a shot where characters are standing still? This is where the arc shot comes in. The arc shot is another technique to capture dynamic movement even if the subject is remaining still. This type of shot is an orbit round the character where a camera moves in a horizontal or vertical direction. And when sped up, it can produce a disorienting feeling that reflects the character's emotional state. Let's take a look at the boom shot. A boom shot moves a camera up or down using a crane, jib, or other motion gear. A large boom movement can be used to follow a character in action or capture the environment around them. Our final camera movement is random movements. This is defined as camera shake, incidental zoom, or any movement that occurs on the fly. A lot of filmmakers sometimes want to produce movement that is uncontrollable for a more intimate effect. It is possible to create a chaotic and unsettling atmosphere or a documentary look stylistically by using random resumes and camera movements. The random camera movement of some of my students in this shot takes the audience from watching the film to being with them in real time. Random movement gives that impression that anything can happen when nothing is planned. While there are countless examples of camera movements in film, the best uses are always intentional. And that's it, folks. Don't hesitate to send in questions in the comments section, and I will surely answer them. Also, subscribe and follow for more filmmaking secrets and equipment giveaways. But more importantly, don't forget to keep making films. That's the source to keep getting better. See you in the next video.